Princess Lyrea sat alone in the crystal garden of her father's palace. The tall trees of blue glass and soft glowing flowers surrounded her, but she did not smile. Lyrea was the daughter of King Halvrin, ruler of the great Thaleri Empire. Her people were known for their long lives, sharp minds, and strong warriors. She was beautiful, graceful, and wise beyond her years. But she was also marked by sadness. Lyrea could not have children. She had known this since she was a teenager. The royal doctors had tested her many times. Each time, the answer was the same. Her body could not create life. Her people believed this was a curse. The Thaleri were a proud race. The royal bloodline was sacred. To not have a child meant the line would end at first. The king had hope. He sent Lyrea to the best healers across the stars. They tried every kind of treatment. None of them worked. Some even made her sick. After years of trying, the king gave up. He stopped speaking of marriage or children. He turned his focus to her younger cousins. Lyrea was still loved, but she was no longer the hope of the empire. Lyrea tried to accept her fate. She read ancient books, studied science, and helped her people. But deep inside, she felt broken. Every time she walked through the palace, she saw the looks of pity. Servants bowed lower when she passed. Courtiers stopped talking when she entered. No one said it, but she knew what they were thinking. A princess who cannot give an heir is not a real princess. Many suitors came in. The early years. Princes from other planets, noble warriors, and rich merchants all wanted to marry her. She was the king's daughter, after all. But when they learned of her condition, they quickly left. Some were kind. Others were cruel. One even said she should be locked away like a broken machine. After that, Lyrea stopped meeting suitors. She spent more time alone. She walked the gardens in silence. She listened to the songs of the wind harps. She watched the stars from her high tower. She dreamed of other lives, other worlds, where she was not seen as less. But dreams did not change her truth. She was alone, and she would never be a mother. One day, Lyrea heard news that a human ship had arrived. The Terrans were a new ally to the Thaleri. Their worlds were smaller, their people shorter-lived, but they were strong and clever. The king had invited human diplomats to speak of trade and peace. Lyrea did not care at first. She had seen many talks come and go. But this time was different. A man named Alex Carter was part of the human group. He was not a prince or a great leader. He was a simple envoy, a speaker for peace. He was tall, with short brown hair and a calm voice. He looked plain next to the shining armor of the Thaleri, but his eyes were kind. Lyrea met him by chance. In the garden, he did not know who she was at first. He did not bow or call her by her title. He simply smiled and said, "Hello." She was surprised. No one spoke to her like that anymore. She asked him who he was, and he told her about Earth. He talked about trees that grew from real soil and rain that smelled fresh. He spoke of simple things, books, food, music. Lyrea listened. She found herself laughing for the first time in months. They began to meet often. Sometimes they walked the gardens. Other times they sat in the library. Alex never asked about her condition. He never looked at her with pity. He treated her like a friend, like an equal. Lyrea started to feel something she had not felt in years. Peace. One evening, as the sky turned purple and the stars began to shine, Lyrea looked at Alex and asked, "Do you know who I am?" He nodded. "I do, and I don't care about what others say." "I see you." Her heart beat faster. No one had said that to her before. Not her father, not the suitors, not even her old friends. Lyrea smiled. A real smile, full of warmth. For the first time in her life, she wondered if maybe she was not broken. Maybe she just needed someone who did not see her as a tool or a symbol. Maybe she could still have a future, even if it looked different from what her people expected. And so, under the twin moons of Thalar, something small and powerful began to grow, a quiet hope, born not from duty or law, but from a simple hello. Alex Carter walked slowly beside Lyrea through the quiet halls of the palace. The floor sparkled beneath their feet, and soft light shone from the walls. Lyrea moved with grace, but Alex could tell she was nervous. She had invited him to meet her father, the great King Halvorin. It was not a small thing. No outsider had ever stood before the king without a full ceremony. But Lyrea had asked for a private meeting, something rare and special. Alex had learned many things about Thalar since he arrived. The people were proud, strong, and very old. Their ways were different from those on Earth, but Alex was not afraid. He had grown up in a small town where honesty mattered more than power. He knew Lyrea was taking a risk by bringing him to her father. That meant something. They reached the royal chamber. 2 guards stood at the large doors, holding long silver spears. They gave a small nod to Lyrea and opened the doors. Inside, the king waited. King Halvorin sat on a wide throne made of white stone and glowing gems. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He looked at Alex, studying him without speaking. Lyrea stepped forward. "Father," she said, her voice steady. "This is Alex Carter, a human envoy. He is my friend." The king said nothing for a long moment. Then he nodded slightly. "Speak," he said. Alex took a breath. "Your Majesty, I thank you for allowing me to stand here. I come from Earth. I know I am not noble or rich, but I have respect for your people. I met your daughter by chance. I did not plan for any of this, but I have come to care for her deeply." The king looked at Lyrea. "You bring him here for a reason. Say it." Lyrea met her father's gaze. "I wish to choose him as my partner." The room grew silent. Even the air felt heavy. The king's eyes narrowed. "You know what you are saying." "I do," she said. "I know what I cannot give, but I also know what I feel. I will not live by old rules anymore." The king stood. He was tall and strong, even in his age. "You are a princess. You carry our name, and yet you wish to join." "With a human? A man with no title, no power, no blood from our line?" Alex stepped forward. "I don't want her title. I don't want her crown. I only want to be beside her." The king stared at him, then slowly he sat down. "Very well. But if you hurt her, human, there is no place in the stars where you can hide." Alex nodded. "Understood." Lyrea let out a breath. She had not expected her father to accept so easily, but she knew he loved her in his own way. Maybe he had seen the light in her eyes and chosen not to fight it. News of the union spread quickly. Across Thalar, people were shocked. Many called it madness. A human and a Thalari princess? It had never happened before. Some feared the bloodline would be ruined. Others whispered that it was a symbol of hope. 2 worlds coming together through choice, not war. Lyrea and Alex did not care for the gossip. They made simple plans. There would be no large wedding, no grand show. They chose a quiet temple under the stars with only a few close friends. Lyrea wore a silver dress that shimmered in the moonlight. Alex wore a dark suit, plain but neat. They stood together, holding hands. A soft wind blew through the temple garden. The stars above watched in silence. The priest spoke words of union. Then Alex spoke. "I don't promise riches or power. I promise to listen, to protect, and to stand beside you no matter what comes." Lyrea smiled. "I promise to walk with you through joy and sorrow, in peace and in storm. You see me not as a symbol, but as a person, and that is more than I ever hoped for." They kissed, and the temple lights glowed brighter. The stars above shimmered as if they too celebrated. After the wedding, Lyrea left the palace. She and Alex moved to a small Terran outpost on the edge of a green world. There were no guards, no royal walls. Only trees, soft rivers, and quiet skies. Lyrea learned how to live a simpler life. She cooked with Alex, read human books, and watch the sunrise. For the first time, she felt free. She was not a princess. She was just Lyrea. One night, as they sat by the fire, Alex looked at her and said, "Do you miss it? The palace, the title?" Lyrea shook her head. "No, I don't miss. What I never truly had." He smiled and took her hand. "Then let's build something new." Lyrea looked at the stars. She had spent years thinking she was broken, but now she had something better than a title. She had a choice. And she had love. Something was changing inside her, though she did not yet know it, but the stars knew. And soon, the whole galaxy would know too. Lyrea sat near the window of their small home, watching the sun rise over the hills. The sky turned orange and gold, and the light made the trees glow. Birds from Earth sang songs she had never heard before. Everything felt peaceful. Alex came in from outside, holding 2 cups of hot tea. He handed one to her and sat beside her. "You've been quiet," he said. Lyrea smiled. "Just thinking. This world is very different, but I like it." Life on the Terran outpost was simple. The people were kind and did not care about titles. Lyrea helped at the local school, teaching children about stars and planets. Alex worked with a small team fixing machines and building houses. They had little, but it was enough. Every evening, they walked together. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they just listened to the wind. They laughed often, and Lyrea found joy in small things: the warmth of the sun, the smell of fresh food, the sound of Alex reading to her before bed. This life was not grand, but it was real. Weeks passed. One morning, Lyrea felt strange. Her stomach turned, and she felt dizzy. She thought maybe it was the local food or the strong sunlight, but the feeling didn't go away. It came back the next day, and the day after, Alex noticed. "You don't look well. Maybe we should visit the doctor." Lyrea agreed. They went to the small clinic near the center of the outpost. Dr. Mia, a kind woman with gray hair and warm eyes, checked Lyrea carefully. She took scans and asked questions. Later, Dr. Mia called them into her office. She looked at Lyrea with wide eyes. This is unexpected," she said. Lyrea sat up straight. "What is it? Am I sick?" Dr. Mia shook her head slowly. "No, you're pregnant." Lyrea stared at her. "That's not possible. I cannot have children." "I checked 3 times," the doctor said. "There is no mistake. You're in the early stage, but the signs are clear. Your body is changing, and the baby, it's healthy." Alex held Lyrea's hand. "Is this because of me?" Dr. Mia smiled gently. "It's hard to say. Your DNA may have done something new, something we've never seen before." Lyrea's hand shook. She could not believe it. All her life, she had been told she was barren, that her body was broken, but now a new life grew inside her. Tears filled her eyes. She looked at Alex. "Is this real?" He nodded and held her close. "Yes, it's real." News of the pregnancy spread fast. First, the doctor sent a quiet report to the Terran Science Council. Then the message reached Alar. Within days, royal ships were preparing to travel to the outposts. Scientists and officials all wanted to see the child who should not exist. Lyrea felt both fear and wonder. She had only just started to believe. She was whole. Now the galaxy wanted to turn her miracle into a study. She did not want to be tested. She did not want her baby to be treated like a mystery. Alex stood by her. "We don't have to let them in," he said. "This is your life. Your child." Lyrea nodded. But deep down, she also knew this child meant something bigger. Not just for her, but for 2 worlds. Maybe for more. When the royal ship arrived, it brought an old face. Lyrea's father, King Halvorin, stepped off in full royal robes. He looked tired, older than she remembered. But when he saw her, his hard face softened. "Daughter," he said. She bowed slightly. "Father." He looked at her belly. "So, the impossible has happened." Lyrea touched her stomach. "Yes, but it happened because I chose a life where I was loved, not used." The king nodded. "I see that now." They spoke for hours. The king did not ask for her to return to the palace. He did not demand tests. Instead, he sat beside her and listened. For the first time, he treated her not as a princess, but as a daughter. Before leaving, he placed a small silver crest on her table. This is yours. It holds the name of our line. If your child ever wishes to return to Falar, they will be welcomed. Lyrea held the crest in her hand. It felt heavy with meaning. Thank you. After the ship left, Lyrea and Alex returned to their quiet life. They prepared for the child, not with gold or riches, but with love and care. They painted a room, collected soft blankets, and built a small cradle from local wood. At night, Lyrea spoke to her unborn child. She told stories of stars and peace. She sang songs in the old language of her people. She no longer felt broken. She no longer felt alone. She felt alive. And somewhere among the stars, a new chapter was beginning. The days passed slowly, but Lyrea's world felt full. Her belly grew, and with it, so did her joy and fear. She was carrying a child that was never meant to exist. Some days she felt strong. Other days she was tired and afraid. But Alex was always there. He helped her walk when her legs felt weak. He made her food when she was too tired to cook. He stayed up late, reading to her when she could not sleep. Every morning, they walked outside to watch the sunrise. The outpost was small but peaceful. People smiled when they saw her. Many came to offer help or bring gifts for the baby. Lyrea was touched by their kindness. On Thelar, she had been surrounded by power and silence. Here, she was surrounded by warmth, but not everyone was silent. Scientists from Earth and Thalar sent many messages. They wanted samples, interviews, and studies. Some asked if they could examine the baby after birth. Lyrea said no to all of them. This was not a science project. This was her child. One afternoon while Alex was working outside, Lyrea sat on the porch with her hands resting on her stomach. A soft wind blew through her hair. Suddenly she felt a tiny kick. She gasped and smiled. The baby was moving. When Alex returned, she took his hand and placed it gently on her belly. Feel this. He waited, and then he felt it a small push, like a heartbeat. He's strong, Alex said with a smile. Or she, Lyrea replied, laughing. They didn't know the child's gender. They didn't care. All they cared about was the life they were about to welcome. One evening, as the stars filled the sky, Alex brought out an old wooden box. He opened it slowly. Inside was small things from his childhood: old picture, a carved toy ship, and a soft blue blanket. These were mine, he said. I want to share them with our child. Lyrea picked up the blanket. It smelled like time and love. Our child will know both our worlds, she said, not just one. She began teaching Alex her language, the soft, flowing words of Thalar. In return, Alex taught her simple Earth songs and poems. Together, they created new traditions. Some nights they lit candles and spoke wishes. Other nights, they danced under the stars without music. But peace did not last forever. One morning, a message arrived. A team of scientists from the Galactic Research Union had been sent to the outpost. They would arrive in 3 days. They claimed the child was a matter of interstellar importance. Lyrea felt a cold wave of fear. What if they try to take the baby? What if they say it doesn't belong to us? Alex put his arms around her. Then we don't let them. This is our family. We decide. When the team arrived, they brought large ships and many machines. The lead scientist, Dr. Kellen, was tall and thin, with sharp eyes and a voice that sounded like metal. We understand your concern, he said, but this is history. This child is proof of something new. We need to study what is happening. Not like this, Lyrea said. You can ask questions, but you do not touch my child. Dr. Kellen tried to smile. Of course, we only want to learn. For 2 days, the team stayed near the outpost. They took notes and spoke with doctors. They asked about Lyrea's health, the pregnancy, the scans. But they were careful not to cross the line. Alex and the local doctor, Mia, kept a close eye on them. Then, on the third night, Lyrea woke with pain. It was sharp and sudden. She called out, and Alex rushed to her side. "Something's wrong," she whispered. They rushed to the clinic. Dr. Mia was ready. She checked Lyrea quickly. "It's not time yet, but the baby wants to come. We must be careful." Lyrea was afraid. It was too early. But she held Alex's hand and took deep breaths. Hours passed. Pain came and went. The scientists stayed outside, watching but not helping Dot at last. As the sky began to lighten, the cry of a baby filled the room. Dr. Mia held up the child, wrapped in a soft cloth. "It's a girl," she said, smiling. Lyrea reached out, tears in her eyes. Alex kissed her forehead. The baby was small but strong. Her skin was a soft gold, and her eyes shone like silver. She was both Earth and Thalar. Outside, the scientists watched silently. They saw not just a child, but the future. But inside the small clinic, Lyrea and Alex saw only their daughter. They named her Elia Dot. She was not a project. She was not a miracle for study. She was love, made real. Elia was a quiet baby, but her eyes always seemed full of wonder. She stared at everything: the sky, the trees, the soft lights in their home. Lyrea held her for hours each day, whispering old songs and stories from Thalar. Alex would carry her around the garden, pointing at birds, bugs, and flowers. Their world had changed, but it felt more beautiful than ever. Word of Elia's birth spread across the stars. It was in every news report and on every screen. Some called her the Star Child. Others called her the First Bridge. Everyone wanted to know more. People sent messages from many planets. Some sent gifts, others sent questions. Lyrea and Alex tried to protect their little family. They stayed away from cameras and reporters. They wanted Elia to grow up free, not as a symbol or a science story. But the attention kept growing. A message came from the Council of Planets. It was a formal request. They wanted to meet the child. Not to take her, they said, only to see her, to understand her, and to begin talks about what this meant for humans and Thaleri. Lyrea was unsure. Alex read the message and looked at her. "We don't have to say yes. We can stay quiet." Lyrea held Elia close. Maybe it's time. Maybe the galaxy should see that she is just a child, not a puzzle, not a weapon. A child with a mother and a father. So they agreed to a visit. The council sent a small team of leaders from many planets. They came in peace, bringing no weapons, only questions and gifts. They met at a simple hall near the outpost. Lyrea wore a plain white dress. Alex held Elia, who was wrapped in her blue blanket. The leaders stood in silence when they saw her. They expected something strange, but Elia was just a baby. She yawned and blinked her silver eyes. One leader, a woman from the Waterworld Viren, smiled softly. "She is beautiful." They asked questions about her health, her growth, her mind. Lyrea answered with calm words. Alex explained their life, their hopes. When the leaders left, they thanked them. One leader said, "This child will bring change." But today, she brought peace. After the visit, something shifted across the stars. People began to talk less about power and more about family. Some Thaleri scholars wrote that love had done what science could not. Human doctors asked if their understanding of biology had been too small. Lyrea felt the change. People were not just watching anymore. They were learning. Months passed. Elia grew fast. She smiled, crawled, and reached for the stars outside the window. Her first word was light. Alex cried when he heard it. Lyrea kissed her and whispered, "You are light." One day, a visitor came from Thalar. It was Lyrea's younger cousin, Cyril. He had once been named heir after Lyrea stepped away from the throne. He came without guards, wearing a simple robe. He held out his hands to Elia. "May I?" he asked. Lyrea nodded. Cyril held Elia gently. She looked up at him and smiled. You looked at Lyra and said, she belongs to both of us, our worlds. I think the old ways must change. Later, he spoke with Alex in the garden. You have given Falar something more than an heir. You've given us a story of hope. Alex replied, we didn't try to make history. We just tried to build a family. Back in their home, Lyra placed Elia in her cradle. She watched her sleep, so calm and full of peace. She thought about the life they had built. It was not perfect. It had been full of fear, change, and risk. But it was real. She thought about her past, the girl in the crystal garden, alone and full of sorrow. That girl never thought this day would come. That girl never believed she could be a mother. But here she was, holding the proof that life can change even in the most impossible ways. Outside, the wind blew softly. The stars above blinked like gentle eyes. Elia stirred in her sleep, then smiled. And somewhere, deep in Lyra's heart, she knew the journey was only beginning. The first few weeks with Elia were full of wonder and new lessons. Lyra spent most of her days holding Elia close, singing to her in both Thalari and English. Alex took care of the house, cooked meals, and watched over them both with care. The outpost had become quiet again, as most of the scientists had returned to their worlds. Only a few peaceful visitors remained. Elia grew fast. She was small, but her eyes followed every light and movement. Her cries were soft, and her smile came easily. She loved to be held and looked up at Lyra with a gaze that felt deep, as if she already understood things far beyond her age. Alex sat by the window one morning, reading a report. He looked over at Lyra and said, another message from the council. They want us to visit their station. They want to introduce Elia to the public. Lyra frowned. She is still just a baby. She should not be part of politics. I agree, Alex said, but they believe showing her will help keep peace between the species. Lyra looked down at Elia, who was holding her finger and smiling. I don't want her to grow up as a symbol, but if it keeps her safe, maybe it's worth one visit. So, they agreed. A few days later, a clean, quiet shuttle arrived. It took them to a peaceful council station in space, where leaders from many planets met to talk about peace, trade, and the future. The station was large but welcoming. Lyra and Alex were given a small private room, and Elia was cared for gently by trusted doctors. The council did not force anything. They allowed Lyra and Alex to choose how much to share. When the day came, they walked into a large hall where delegates from all over the galaxy sat in silence. Lyra held Elia in her arms. Alex walked beside her. Lyra spoke first. This is Elia. She is not here as a tool. She is here as a child of two worlds. She is proof that love and peace can create new life. Elia looked around the hall, blinking at the lights. Then she reached out her tiny hand and made a soft sound. Many delegates smiled. A few wiped their eyes. After the meeting, no one asked for tests or samples. They only asked for pictures and stories. Lyra shared a few quiet moments with the leaders, telling them how Elia loved music and sunlight. Alex joked about her strong grip and her curious eyes. When they returned home, they found the outpost even more welcoming. People had painted a wall with a mural of stars and a small baby reaching up toward them. Children ran to see Elia and gave her little gifts, flowers, drawings, and soft toys. One night, Lyra sat with Alex under the stars. I used to think my life ended when I learned I could not have children, but that pain led me here. It led me to you, to her. Alex nodded. I used to wonder if I would ever find a place that felt like home. Now I have one, and it's not made of stone or walls. It's made of you two. Elia slept between them in a small cradle. She stirred a little but didn't wake. Her silver eyes stayed closed, and her soft golden skin glowed in the moonlight. Time passed. Elia began to walk. She spoke her first clear words, light, then mother, and soon after, home. Her voice was soft but strong. People in the outpost treated her like one of their own. They didn't see her as strange. They saw her as special. One afternoon, a message came from Thalar. The king, Larea's father, wanted to visit again. He asked for no grand welcome. He only wanted to meet his granddaughter. Lyrea agreed. When the ship arrived, the king stepped out quietly. He wore a simple robe, not the usual royal armor. His eyes were softer than before. He held out his hands. "May I hold her?" he asked. Lyrea placed Elia in his arms. The king looked at her, and for the first time, his eyes filled with tears. "I once feared the bloodline would end," he said. "But now I see it has only just begun. In a new way." That evening, they all shared a meal under the open sky. The king told Elia stories of Thalar and its many stars. Alex shared tales of Earth, of forests and oceans. Elia listened to them both. Her eyes wide with wonder. She was growing up in two worlds but belonged fully to neither. And that was her gift. Lyrea watched her daughter and felt peace. The world had changed, but so had she. Elia was not a question anymore. She was the answer they never expected. And this was only the beginning of her story. Years passed, and Elia grew into a bright and curious child. She ran through the fields around the outpost, her soft golden skin glowing in the sunlight, her silver eyes full of wonder. People in the community loved her. She asked many questions and loved stories about stars, ships, and old Earth legends. Lyrea taught her about Thalar, its language, music, and the peaceful parts of its past. Alex showed her how to fix simple machines, plant vegetables, and read Earth books. Elia spoke both languages easily and often mixed them when excited. She learned fast, not just facts, but feelings. She could sense when someone was sad and would offer a hug or a song. As Elia grew, she started to notice she was different. One night, while looking at the stars, she asked, "Why don't I look like the other children?" Lyrea sat beside her. "Because you are special. You come from two worlds. That makes you something new. Is that bad?" Elia asked. Alex shook his head. "No, sweetheart. It's the best thing in the galaxy." But not everyone in the galaxy agreed. On some planets, people feared what Elia represented. They said her birth would break traditions, that she was unnatural. Some leaders called her a threat. Others called her a sign of change. One group sent a warning to the council. They said Elia should be removed from public view and raised in a neutral facility. They claimed it was for her safety. The council sent an envoy to speak with Lyrea. And Alex, the woman, named Clara Hart, was calm and respectful. "This is not an order," Clara said. "But the pressure is growing. People want to know she's safe. And they want her kept away from politics." Larea's eyes narrowed. "She is a child, not a problem to solve." "We know that," Clara said. "But she's also a symbol, one that scares some people." Alex stood beside Lyrea. "Then maybe it's time they stopped being afraid." They held their ground. Elia would not be taken, but the world kept watching. Reporters asked for interviews. Scientists asked for data. Some people even traveled to the outpost just to catch a glimpse of the child who crossed worlds. Through it all, Lyrea and Alex gave Elia the most normal life they could. She helped in the garden, went to the small school, and played with friends. But they knew a time would come when Elia would have to decide what kind of future she wanted. That time came sooner than expected. When Elia turned 10, the council asked if she would attend a peace summit. Just to listen, not to speak. Elia asked her parents. "Do you think I should go?" Lyrea took her hand. "Only if you want to." "Not because they ask," Alex added. "You have a voice. But no one can force you to use it." Elia thought for a long time, then said, "I want to go. I want them to see I'm not afraid." So they prepared. Lyrea helped her choose a simple dress. Alex gave her a necklace made of small stones from Earth. Elia stood tall as they boarded the shuttle. The summit was held on a neutral space station. Delegates from over 20 worlds were present. Most had never seen Elia before. She walked into the room holding her mother's hand. All eyes turned to her. The room fell silent. Then one delegate, a tall man from a cold planet, stood and said, "She is just a child, and yet she holds the attention of the stars." Elia looked at him and said, "I didn't ask for it, but if I can help people understand each other, I will." Try. No one expected her to speak, but she did. "My name is Elia. I am not one planet or one people. I am both, and I'm not here to break things. I'm here because my parents chose love. That's all." There was a long silence. Then a slow, respectful clap. Others joined. Even those who had feared her before now looked at her with new eyes. After the summit, things began to shift. Not quickly, but steadily. Some rules changed. Some hearts softened. More families of different species began to speak openly of love. Back. At the outpost, Elia returned to her normal life. But something inside her had changed. She knew her place in the world. Not as a symbol. Not as a miracle. But as a person with a voice. One night she sat with her parents under the stars. "What should I be when I grow up?" she asked. Alex smiled. "Whatever you want." Lyrea brushed her hair. "You already are something wonderful." Elia looked at the sky. The stars looked closer now, like they were listening. She was born of two worlds. And now she would help build a bridge between them, with love, with peace, and with hope.